So let's just jump right in. When you picture taking down a massive crime syndicate, you're probably thinking of SWAT teams, high-speed chases, the whole deal. But what if the deadliest weapon wasn't a gun, but the tax code? That's what we're digging into today, a truly groundbreaking case where Japanese authorities decided to hit the Yakuza where it really hurts, right in the wallet. This headline from 2015, it was a bombshell. You gotta understand, for the first time ever, law enforcement wasn't just going after some individual crime. No, they were targeting the very financial engine of a Yakuza clan, that system of so-called loyalty payments, the Jonukin, that keeps the whole operation running. And the scale of that operation, wow. The target here, a notoriously violent syndicate known as the Kudo-kai, was pulling in an estimated 240 million yen a year. That's nearly $2 million US every single year, just flowing into their pockets. So you can see the stakes were unbelievably high. And it all reached a boiling point with the arrest of the Kudo-kai's big boss, a guy named Nomura Satoru. But here's the twist. The charge wasn't murder or extortion, it was tax evasion. And this completely new way of thinking, this radical strategy, it forced everyone to confront a really, really tricky legal paradox. Which brings us to the first big problem the authorities had to solve. And it's a question that sounds kind of simple on the surface, but legally, it's a huge deal. How can the government tax money that, you weren't supposed to have in the first place? I mean, really think about it for a second. If the government taxes profits from a crime, isn't that kind of like officially recognizing it? Like they're legitimizing the whole thing. But on the flip side, if you don't tax it, are you basically giving criminals a giant tax-free advantage over every honest person who pays their taxes? And this just lays out the dilemma perfectly. On one hand, not taxing this money creates this bizarre world where crime literally pays more because it's tax-free. But on the other hand, taxing it feels like the government is taking its cut from the very thing it's supposed to be stopping. It's a total catch-22. So what did Japan do? Well, way back in 1965, they just decided to cut right through that tangled mess. They revised the law to make it crystal clear. All income is taxable. It doesn't matter if you're a salaryman, a business owner, or a gangster. If it's income, the taxman gets his share. So problem solved, right? Well, not quite. Because this is where the Yakuza had this incredibly clever defense. And get this, it worked for decades. See, even if you can legally tax dirty money, you have to prove whose income it actually is. And for years, the Yakuza had this argument that these payments, the Jonukin, were basically just club dues, like you'd pay for a local community center. They claimed the money was for the whole group, which meant it wasn't personal, taxable income for the boss. But okay, let's actually break that down. In a normal student club, the fees pay for group stuff, the treasurer has a duty to use it right, and people know where the money's going. With the Yakuza, come on, it's the total opposite. The money pays for the boss's fancy cars and houses, he can do whatever he wants with it, and no member in their right mind would ever ask to see the receipts. That whole circle fee argument was just a shield made of paper. And that's exactly what legal experts started to argue. Groups like the Japan Federation of Bar Associations basically said, look, a Yakuza clan is a business, and the boss is the owner. That Jorunakin isn't a fee, it's revenue. It's his personal income, plain and simple. But even with that solid legal argument, there was still a terrifying, real-world problem. How do you actually do it? How on earth do you send a bunch of accountants to go audit one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the country? Seriously, just think about it. These guys don't keep books, they don't have receipts, and they're not exactly known for their friendly cooperation. You've got unarmed tax officials facing incredible personal danger, not just to them, but to their families. And hey, even if you manage to figure out a tax bill, good luck trying to collect it. Now, to get around that no books problem, Japanese law does have this neat little tool called estimated taxation. It lets the authorities basically say, okay, you won't show us your records? Fine. We'll just estimate your income based on what we can see, like how many members you have and what other businesses like yours are making. It's a way to get the ball rolling, but you still need some hard evidence to make it all stick in a courtroom. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. With all of these legal loopholes and very real dangers, what was the breakthrough? How did investigators finally build a case that was strong enough to take down the head of the Kudo-kai? They did it the old-fashioned way. They followed the money. Painstakingly, patiently, and with the full force of the police behind them, they started to put all the little pieces of the financial puzzle together. And this is the path they uncovered. First, the Jonggo-kin gets collected. Then, and this was the key discovery, a chunk of it, 5 million yen every single month, was being secretly funneled into bank accounts held by the boss's relatives. And where did that cash go? Not for group activities. Nope. It went to a mansion for his girlfriend, a fleet of luxury cars, and living expenses for his family. This wasn't a club fund. It was a personal piggy bank. And this right here, this was the smoking gun, the final nail in the coffin. Investigators drew up a simple chart. On one side, they calculated the growth in the boss's personal wealth from 2009 to 2014. It was about 900 million yen. On the other side, the total amount of Jonyukin that was moved into his family's accounts during that exact same time, also about 900 million yen. It was a perfect, undeniable match. The court saw it clear as day. The verdict came back guilty. The boss got 3 years in prison and was slapped with a massive 80 million yen fine. The whole circle fee defense was officially dead and buried. You know, if this whole strategy sounds familiar, it should. It's the exact same playbook they used to finally take down America's most infamous gangster, Al Capone. They couldn't get him for all the violence and racketeering, but they got him, in the end, for not paying his taxes. And that's why this case was so much bigger than just one guy. It was a landmark decision that set a powerful new precedent. It basically handed authorities all over Japan a brand new blueprint for how to dismantle organized crime. You don't go for the soldiers, you go for the bank. And that leaves us with this one final, pretty provocative thought. In this long, hard fight against organized crime, where proving violent acts in court can be next to impossible, could it be that the most powerful weapon all along wasn't in a police armory, but was just sitting there, waiting, in the pages of the tax code? Definitely something to think about.